How do you make an egg roll?
How?
You push it.
You're right.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to the Hungry Square podcast where the brain and belly meet. I'm Sharon from the Wasatch Cooking Guide.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we're talking about Chinese food. Well, Americanized Chinese food.
Happy Chinese New Year!
Let's talk about it.
Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.
Sharon, how's your week been? Did you eat anything good, bad, ugly?
Ugly and bad. I had burnt chili mac and it was gross.
Whoa.
What'd you eat this week?
Is that all you're going to say about it?
It was disgusting and I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Well, since Sharon is not wanting to talk about it, I will talk about something, a listener mail thing.
What?
Yeah, we got some cool listener mail. So maybe we'll forego what'd you eat this week because Sharon had a bad week.
I did.
It's not good.
If you have listener mail for us, you can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
It might brighten our day when we've eaten something bad.
Yes, it will.
So one of our listeners, Lillian. Hi, Lillian.
Hi.
So she was referencing our episode on January 2nd. I can't even remember the episode number, you guys. I'm sorry. Anyway.
It was the podcast of the new year.
It was the podcast, our first podcast of the new year. So look that one up. Anyway, our food fight person that week was really in a food rut, right?
Yes.
And
Getting out of food ruts.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a discussion on that. We kind of gave her some suggestions, but Lillian gave something that I thought was really cool.
What is it?
So she sent an Excel spreadsheet to me.
I love spreadsheets.
I know. So she says that her kids are not picky, but she's like, sometimes we do get into food ruts, and they just kind of her kids start like just requesting the same basic things.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
They're kids and they want to eat like chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Or it could just be like the same old whatever.
Sure.
So I love this. And she's like, here's a way to help people who are in a food rut or to get picky people to try new things. It is geared toward my children, but it's simple to adjust the rules or add new things. So this Excel spreadsheet is a vegetable bingo sheet.
What?
I know. So it looks like a bingo sheet, except for in each square, it has a color.
Oh,
and I'm
like
talking,
eat the rainbow?
Kind of. Yeah, exactly. And so and there's specifications on like green. If it's the color green, these particular things count to cover one of the spaces. If you eat some celery, you get to cover a green space. But the cool thing is there are rewards for when you get a bingo, right? Like when you get a complete row. For her kids, she has, if you complete one row, you get one candy or 25 cents. So it could be sweet treat or a monetary treat.
Nice.
Yep. Complete 2 rows, 2 candies or 50 cents. So she goes through that and I kind of like that.
Earn your money, kids. Eat your vegetables.
And I was going to say, I probably could make something like that for myself.
And you get to keep a quarter.
Well, I was thinking of like, fill out the entire card and you get to go get a pedicure.
Oh, hey, that's a good one.
Right?
That's a good reward.
You need to have a reward. I mean, eating vegetables is a good reward and stuff, but sometimes you need a pedi.
There you go. I think we should post this on our show notes.
I will totally do that. Lillian said that we could share it. So thanks, Lillian. Thanks for writing in. And this is a brilliant idea. I hope other people try it.
Yeah, let us know if you do. I love this idea.
Yes.
Thanks, Lillian.
And now for the main course.
Okay, let's get down to our topic at hand, which is Chinese food. But it's the North Americanized Chinese food. So it's not authentic. We're not talking authentic Chinese food.
Not totally. Well, there's going to be a little bit of authenticity from the beginning, right?
Is it because you're talking about it?
No. There's got to be some history. It started out somewhere.
It did start out somewhere.
Okay. Are you going to tell us the
Yes.
history of the Chinese food here?
So,
Because there's like Chinese food I grew up with is very different from what you get at other Chinese establishments here in the United States at times.
Because you ate real Chinese food.
Probably.
Yeah. So back in the day, we're talking like the 1800s during the gold rush
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the railroad boom.
yes.
Chinese immigrants came to the United States and Canada. So I started looking up American Chinese food, and then it cross-referenced to Canadian Chinese food,
There are a lot of Asians.
which is practically the same with a few regional variances.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I can see that.
So I was kind of interested in that, but it's mostly just the same.
Oh, okay.
But how it started in both Canada and the US is basically during the gold rush, where a bunch of Chinese immigrants came over for work, and we being our racist past, both in Canada and the US, established laws that prevented Chinese immigrants from owning land. And so, because we're jerks. And
There was a lot of injustices that happened back then.
not just to the Chinese immigrants, too.
There was plenty of people that were,
Yep. Yep.
taken advantage of. And
Yep.
so, yeah, besides that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that point, we'd been doing it for hundreds of years.
Right.
So, what's another
A little bit of time.
Yeah, that was terrible. So, Chinese immigrants mostly lived together in ghettos, and those were individually referred to as a Chinatown.
Oh,
And that's where we get that term.
and that's where we...
I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that either.
But here in those Chinatowns, they owned businesses. So
Right.
they were able to own businesses. So that's,
That's
at
good.
least we gave them that. And those businesses provided many goods and services. There's everything from laundry service to restaurants.
Yeah.
Banks in some cases, things like that. And these small restaurants were credited for developing the American and Canadian Chinese cuisine that we know today, with the sweet and sour sauce that's like a neon red color,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, because here they made authentic Chinese cuisine
Mm-hmm.
with ancient cooking methods and things like that, but they also modified it to fit to a more bland American palate,
Really?
like other
Wow.
Americans, not Chinese Americans.
Okay.
But yes, Winter is waving her hand.
Yeah, I am. So if they're stuck in these ghettos, right?
Right.
In these Chinatowns, why are they sharing their food with the other people?
Because they're nice
Oh.
and they're getting paid to do it.
Oh, okay. So these restaurants are not just being frequented by other Chinese immigrants. It's
They
also
are being frequented by Chinese immigrants, but they're being frequented by other people.
also just yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're coworkers on the railroad and things like that.
Okay. And the coworkers on the railroad or whatever were like, whoa. This dish you have made me is, whoa, I just can't handle it.
Right. So they would make special requests. So that's where you get a lot of like Chinese restaurants, in your neighborhood that will serve a burger and they'll serve sweet and sour chicken, right? So they would kind of tone down their dishes to make it more quote unquote palatable for the people who couldn't stand spice and things like that, to basically are pathetic white people who weren't used to that kind of food. That's quite delicious, I will say.
I would like to raise my hand.
Yes.
So this is a side note. My family used to own a restaurant.
I've seen that restaurant.
Yes, you have.
We've driven by it.
Yes, we have. And this restaurant is in a predominantly white
Yes, it is.
location. And it was just like a small little rural town in Utah, you guys. A rural town. I can't say that word.
The town has one stoplight
Yeah.
and only a few stop signs. When I say a few, I mean literally 3.
Yeah. It's not very many.
When you ask somebody like, oh, he lives over by the 3rd stop sign, they know exactly where you're talking about.
So it's a very small town. Anyway, we owned this restaurant. And because we were Chinese, we opened a restaurant, of course. And we served Chinese food with all of the neon orange sauces and stuff. But we also sold hamburgers too at that restaurant. Side note, it was great. It was great.
And if you were so lucky, Winter might have taken your order or bust your table at that time.
Oh, yeah. It was fun. I loved it. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, I was hoping that you'd talk about it, but I was like, well, she might not want to. Okay. So they owned restaurants and they would cater to a more bland palate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how these dishes that we know, like this bright red neon sweet and sour sauce, developed. Sweet and sour sauce actually derives its neon red color from a combination of ketchup and food coloring.
Yes, it does.
And it's thick because Americans like gravy.
Oh.
Because it actually doesn't resemble what you'd find in China. Traditional Chinese cookery, it makes it using sugar or honey with a sour liquid like rice vinegar or soy sauce.
Okay.
Along with some ginger and cloves. So right there, those are some strong tastes there.
Oh, yeah. Those are...
But you've got it. Those are great flavor profiles.
But that's going to suck you in the mouth if you're not used to it.
Sure. So the Cantonese sweet and sour sauce is actually a direct ancestor to our neon red stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's that sweet with a sour liquid. So it packs a punch. And the Cantonese sweet and sour sauce was originally developed for a sweet and sour pork.
Yes, that's
So
very, yeah.
Now we still use it for that same thing, or a chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But it's thick and bright red.
It's a gravy. I've never thought of that
Because
before.
That's
crazy.
It's what the white people like.
The gravy. It might be bright red, but it's a gravy.
Yeah, it looks like fake blood. It does. It looks like fake Halloween blood. It's so weird. Except it's thicker.
We would make so much of that stuff.
Would you really?
We would.
I'll bet it was tasty.
It was pretty good.
Nice.
It was pretty good, but we would make tons of it.
Big vats.
Big 5-gallon buckets
Oh
of...
my goodness.
Yeah, it's a lot of ketchup if you think about it.
Dang. Did you guys make it with ketchup?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I was not involved in the making of food. I was too little at the time, but I believe so.
Yeah. See, there you go. So, yeah, they adapted what they made for the local customers. And so that's where it all began.
Wow.
That's where your neon red thick gravy sauces began. Your basic things like chop suey.
Yeah, so let's talk about chop suey because I've kind of heard a few things because chop suey, well, I'll let you get into that.
So chop suey has a few different origins and nobody's really pinned down an origin story. My favorite, though, is these Chinese immigrants during the gold rush making chop suey. And those words literally mean assorted pieces, if you would translate it directly, which I'm sure...
No, it's just
chop suey isn't...
Think about it. It's like the smorgasbord,
yes,
right?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
just like whatever you got. Just chuck it in there.
It's meat, which is usually a pork, a beef, a chicken, or a fish or shrimp. It's anything.
Mm-hmm.
Eggs are usually included. And they're cooked quickly with vegetables like bean sprouts, cabbage, or celery, or whatever you've got lying around. And then it's typically served with rice, but it can be stir fried with noodles, and then it becomes chow mein.
Yeah.
Boom. And those are like your basic American, Canadian, Chinese dishes. I did find up in Calgary, that is a regional area where ginger beef started.
Ooh.
And I would not mind trying ginger beef.
Well, so what's up with ginger beef? I don't know if I know what that is.
So
I'm not familiar with that
like,
regional Asian Canadian
it's kind
cuisine.
of like your beef with broccoli, but instead of being sweet, it's more of a sour with some ginger in it. So it sounded pretty good.
We might have to try that.
Yeah.
Anybody from Calgary, we need to hear if you've had the ginger beef. Is it good?
It sounded good.
Well, I love ginger, so
yeah,
I didn't like ginger as a kid.
Well, it's pretty strong.
It is strong.
Yeah, I think you have to develop the taste buds.
Yeah, I wasn't quite ready for it. My young palate wasn't mature.
The heavy lifting taste buds for ginger.
Yeah.
It's amazing how far, or not far, I guess, American Chinese cuisine has come. because we're still eating a lot of the same food that kind of original, like chop suey and things like that. Side note, I had a very terrible experience this week with the chili mac.
Yep.
But basically, chili mac is known as American chop suey. So,
side note.
Yeah, there's veggies, noodles, and the beef that
Yes.
goes in there. And it's been nicknamed American chop suey. So there you go. But then I got to reading about dim sum. And I remembered our experience when we went to go eat dim sum in LA at the Emerald.
The Emerald
Emerald
Palace?
The Emerald Palace, I
Is that
think is what
right?
it was.
It's either the Emerald Palace or the Emerald Garden. Lee, my husband, makes fun of Chinese restaurants.
Because they all have the same name.
Yeah, in some form or the other. I mean, like if you
There's
know,
Dragon, Garden, Palace,
Golden,
Emerald,
Phoenix.
Gold, Red.
Lotus,
Yeah.
put any of
Any
those together
combination of those words.
and you'll pretty much have a Chinese restaurant name. And I tend to agree. They're all about, yeah.
Except this dim sum that we had was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
And it wasn't something that you'd ordinarily find at your Red Dragon, Phoenix, Lotus, Chow Mein Palace
Yeah.
down the road in your neighborhood.
It's really nice because when we went there in LA, it was like they have a good Chinatown there.
Huge.
So it was nice to have some good dim sum.
Yeah. I loved it.
Loved it. So if you don't know
We
what
had the chrysanthemum tea with it. I
Mhm.
remember that.
it's still so
And
fragrant.
We had the chicken feet, which I did try.
You did try.
And I was
I was
surprised
impressed.
that I didn't hate them.
Right. I think
I was weirded out that I was eating a foot.
but don't think about it that way.
It wasn't that bad. Like,
The
you
fla-
think that sounds terrible, and it doesn't, though. It was actually pretty tasty.
So if you guys don't know what dim sum is, I like to tell people it's like all these it's like tapas or like small dishes on wheels because that you sit there at the table and you get a card and you look into their cart and they push a cart around to you and it's usually steaming because it's like most of these things are steamed.
Yeah, and the cart is laden with dishes.
Yeah,
different
and-
types of dishes.
And they'll pull up the lids and it's kind of a fun little thing because you get to like, I want some of this and I want some of this and I want some of this. And you're just like pointing and they just put them on your table and they mark your card, how many you got of what.
Yeah, it's like the buffet comes to you.
Yeah, it's great. And there's some very traditional dim sum dishes that we always eat, but there are so many new things that come out all the time and innovative chefs that are doing cool stuff with dim sum. So,
Yeah.
So what else did you read about dim sum? Just like was that something that
Kind of what it was. I mean, I think that's the only time I've ever had dim sum
Oh, okay.
was with you. And I mean, I've eaten a lot of those dishes that we had
Mhm.
on their own.
Right.
As like a main course or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but never small plates all together. And it was way more fun that way.
It is.
And it was super delicious
Yeah.
and easy to share. So if you're intimidated to try the chicken feet, you and your friend can do it at the same time.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
At some point in time, I will have to have Lee tell his first eating of chicken feet story. It's pretty funny.
Is it?
He's pretty dramatic.
He tells good stories.
Yeah, he does. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the restaurant side and the history is
Mhm.
mostly, it started with Chinese immigrants during the gold rush times. But I think we should get down to talking about making it ourselves and
Yes. Okay, so
maybe making maybe a more authentic twist
well, and this
instead
is
of your neon red sauce.
we kind of came upon this topic because it's Chinese New Year. It's around Chinese New Year. I think by the time this gets published, it will have just passed. So it was on the 28th of January this year.
Happy year of the
Rooster.
Rooster.
Mhm. My sister is a rooster, actually.
Oh,
Yeah. So we got an email from another listener. This is like the listener email week, I think.
yeah.
And it was from Katie.
Hi,
And-
Katie.
And she wrote this lovely email. She said, "Hi, ladies. I just started listening to your podcast and I'm really enjoying it. I'm only on the second episode, and when Winter joked about only eating stir fry growing up, it piqued my interest. I love quote unquote Asian food, or whatever we eat in the US that passes for it. And I have friends who say that they make stir fry for dinner often. And this sounds like a great idea to me. But whenever I try making stir fry, quote unquote stir fry, I end up with an amalgamation of mushy vegetables, blah meat, and a not very appealing sauce. I know that having a wok and wielding it correctly is a big part of getting delicious stir fry, but say I don't own and currently cannot afford / am scared of a wok.
I hear you.
And then she asks if I can give some techniques on how to come up with a good stir fry that has tasty meat and a good, like, kind of a little close to, she just wants to not give up on her stir fry and end up getting takeout.
That sounds like the stir fries that I made in college.
Yeah.
Like, they were all really mushy, and I would buy these bottled sauces that would break apart, and it would be gross and weird.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's talk about the stir frying. Let me just give you a little back history of my stir frying history, right? We ate stir fries all growing up. My dad had to teach all of us kids how to make stir fries because my mom had passed away. And so we were just basically left up to our own devices and to make sure dinner was on the table.
Right.
So this is the thing that I remember as a kid, and everybody's just going to laugh. It was very mathematical to me, and it was very exact. And I was like, okay, I got this. So
I can see that making sense in your little kid head.
yeah. So my dad's like, okay, you got to get your meat. You got to season your meat. And then you're going to fry it up in some oil. And then you have your vegetables. You get your vegetables and chop them up. And you set the meat aside, and then you quickly.
So are you taking the meat out of the pan?
We usually did.
Okay.
We didn't have a big wok. And I'm a little kid too. Like,
right.
I don't need no big wok. I can't handle that thing. So I would usually take it out. And I think my siblings did the same thing too, just because it was a lot. But we'll talk about some technique in a minute. And then we would put in the vegetables quickly, do a quick, like, you just don't want it to get too, mushy or anything like that. And then you'd add the meat back in and just do a quick finish together, kind of combine everything.
Okay.
So very easy, right? Meat, some seasonings, vegetables. That's it.
Okay.
I kind of took that literally sometimes because at one point in time I made like my dad laughed at me, but this was what was in the fridge. So it was my turn to make food. So I found what was in the fridge and I made a cauliflower hot dog stir fry.
Oh,
hot dogs count as a meat.
Okay.
A mystery.
Did you cut them up?
Totally did.
Awesome.
Yeah. You just cut them at a little angle.
Oh, so you made them fancy.
Oh, totally.
Is this when you were like 10?
Yeah.
Or were you like 15?
No, I was like, I think it was like 10 or 12 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just are like, it fit the equation. Okay, Sharon.
Sure. So you've got meat, you've got vegetable. There wasn't anything else. It was just hot dog and cauliflower.
Yeah. And some seasoning.
Okay. Did you put sauce on top?
Yeah, there's some sauce. Just a little bit.
What kind of sauce?
I think it was, my go-to has always been like, so I usually do oil and probably some soy sauce, but as I've been researching a little bit more, I feel like I haven't been doing it correctly.
Oh.
I feel like I'm not capitalizing on technique. And let's talk about that.
Okay.
So let's get.
But how did the hot dog cauliflower go down with the
good.
family?
Yeah, they ate it. We're not picky.
Okay.
It's chop suey. Come on, think about it.
There you go.
It's thrown together. It's from the fridge.
Assorted pieces from the fridge.
Hot dog cauliflower. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things on how to make a good stir fry for Katie. And once again, I really do think, because as I've thought about it, like, I don't think my dad necessarily taught me certain technique. I mean, like, he taught stuff like how to make a stir fry, but I didn't really quite process what he was actually teaching us until I started reading, researching more about the shape of the wok and why we want certain heat levels and what oils to use and that type of thing.
Interesting.
So
okay.
It's starting to come together like, oh, that's why my dad used this, or this is why he did it this way. Obviously, you want to have the right type of pan, and people are going to laugh at me.
So like a skillet
isn't
necessarily the right kind of pan.
Okay, I'm going to put a little asterisk in that in just a second. So let's talk about the wok. Okay. So we do want a wok. And now the cool thing about the wok is that its shape, right? It's this kind of round
Like a half dome, but with more slanted sides.
Slanted sides, and there's kind of a flat bottomed portion, right, of the wok, and the metal is very thin. It's
yes, it is
considerably thinner than your regular skillet, your cast irons, whatever, right?
They're usually made from like aluminum or things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Carbon steel, like it's pretty thin. And so kind of the benefit of that is that it heats up fast.
Right. Okay.
And we're going to talk about the shape in just a minute, but the heating up fast really helps because you can, that's why
stir fries are always so quick.
Yeah, it's so dang quick. They talk about this phrase is called wok, and it's the breath of the wok. You want to be able to have this, the wok gives it just enough, like there's like different levels of where the heat is. And so the shape of the wok definitely helps with that. And you want it super hot so that the bottom, that flat part, gets really hot and the sides stay cool. And so you can move things over that needs to not be cooking some more. So you can
push them up the wok.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the other thing is that when you are doing stir fry, kind of what you're aiming for is a sizzle. Like you want this hot. Like I can't tell you enough that I think that's where I fail a lot, is that sometimes I am a little fearful of getting it too hot, but that's the key.
Yeah. A lot of times, you need to start with a hot pan.
Yes.
Like when you flick oil or water on it, it sizzles.
Yep.
And that's a lot of cooking too. I mean, you have to start with a hot pan when you're browning meat or anything like that, melting butter. I mean, start with a hot pan. If your pan's not hot enough, your food doesn't turn out the same.
And I think people have said that stir fry is equivalent to sauteing, right? And sauteing, you want something super hot from the get-go. You want something, your pan has got to be, I wouldn't say roaring hot, but it's got to be dang hot. Now, if you're in a restaurant and making Chinese stir fry, they get those woks dang hot, like crazy hot. And they have wok burners, like basically Bunsen burners for woks.
Yeah, they do.
And they get so much hotter than what we can get at home with our gas burner, right? I don't even have a gas burner. So this is the thing this is where I'm failing, is that you kind of need, it helps considerably when you have a gas burner.
Because it goes up the side just a teeny bit.
Yeah.
And keeps that bottom really hot.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of other things that you want to keep in mind is that you don't want to have a nonstick pan, because a lot of those pans don't let you heat it up that hot, like the Teflon and that type of thing. They usually say
they don't cook well on high heat.
Yeah. So stay away from that. And I might make a confession later, but for now I will not say anything.
You're cooking with nonstick.
I know. No, this is even worse. Okay, I'll make the confession now. And I feel like if any of the Asian Council, there's a group of friends of ours that consist of the Asian Council, and they deduct and add Asian points. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose some Asian points on this one.
Spencer, I hope you're listening.
But I was gifted a electric nonstick wok, and that's
from whom?
I'm not telling.
A family member.
No.
Oh, okay.
I should get rid of it. After this research, I'm like, I can't believe I've had this for so long.
I can't believe you have either.
I used to have a wok, but I'm not sure what happened to it.
Yeah, I had one once.
But it probably, and like
I think
my
our
dad,
roommate stole it.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
That happens. Okay. Anyway, so I've lost some Asian points, but we're going on.
It's okay. I burnt chili mac in a nonstick pan.
We're winners this week. Winners. Okay. So the next thing that you want to be aware of, Katie, is that you want to choose the right oil. Okay. And because if you're not using the wrong cooking oil that doesn't have a high smoking point, then it's just not going to go well. You're not going to be able to get the heat. And then you're just going to have billowing smoke, and you're going to set off your fire alarm. Because don't get me wrong, I have done that before. You want to stay away from low smoke point oils. For example, sesame oil is not great. It adds great flavor, but that's
a great finishing oil.
Yes, exactly. So the sesame oil, don't use it as your initial splash of oil in your pan. Evo or extra virgin olive oil. No good.
No good because the smoke point's too low.
Way too low.
Coconut oil would probably be good.
Yeah. I don't think I looked at coconut oil.
You what?
I don't think I looked up coconut oil. But Evo
it's got
is
like a 500 degree smoke.
Oh, is it? So the ones that we would use are vegetable oil. That's a solid 400 to 450. And I'm talking like for sesame oil and Evo, it's 325 is olive oil. Sesame oil is around 350. And this is Fahrenheit, sorry. Other people use canola oil, avocado oil, rice bran oil. I've never used that before. Grapeseed. And those are all just higher smoke points. So just use the right oil, first of all. And you want to get your pan hot. Okay, Katie, start that way. Now, I like to season my meat ahead of time. And that usually requires like some basic stuff. Salt, probably white pepper, some garlic, salt, and some cornstarch. And I know cornstarch just doesn't make too much sense.
Is it so that it can get crispy?
Yeah, it kind of does something to it.
It kind of acts like a breading in a way without breading your meat.
Yeah.
It gets that crispy consistency that you get with a breading without actually having breading. It's really nice.
So you cut up your meat into bite-sized pieces and then you put it I usually put it into a bowl and then I add whatever seasonings I'm going to do. I think I have made the mistake in the past to add like too many liquidy type seasonings.
Okay, so you want some more like dry seasonings, so it's more like a rub.
Right. I would say that's probably a little bit more. It's probably a little bit better. However, I have put in soy sauce because I kind of want some of that flavor. Sure. And then some of the cornstarch will kind of help
suck it dry.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So now the next key is the overcrowding of the pan can cause issues. Now the wok has a cool design, you guys. It's round, right? It's, in a sense, it can act it can do a lot of things. Think about it. Like I've steamed fish in my wok before.
Oh, yeah.
I have fried things in my wok before because you really don't need a lot of oil at the very bottom of the pan to create a well of oil. And there's something.
I've made beignets in my wok.
Yeah. See, like and you don't need a ton of oil. It's great. So it's a versatile little pan. So the cool thing is that, like we talked about, they have this kind of flat iron portion. I think it's called the patina. And there that's going to be hottest. And then up the sides, you are going to move things that are done cooking or you need to just get them cool. So you move them up the side. So you don't want to have a pan that's too small. Think about it this way. You either go for a bigger pan or you batch cook them.
Oh, bigger pan or go for less food.
Yeah, because if you're awesome and have a huge wok and have the ability to have a huge wok, then once you're done with the meat, you can move it off to the side, up the sides, where it's cooler and it's going to stop cooking. And then you can add your next thing, which would be the vegetables.
Sure.
Your woodier vegetables, I guess. So kind of think about that. If your wok is not huge, or if the pan that you are not using is, the pan you are using is a little on the smaller side, then batch cook. It's not a big deal. So once you're done with the meat, move it out. Take it out. Don't get in there.
Take it out, set it on a plate.
Yeah.
And just put it right next to your workstation.
Exactly. One thing to be aware of, though, is remember, you want it to be super, super, super hot. You cook it, it's like searing it and like sealing the juices in. So it's super fast. You don't want to have it sit there too long. You don't want like juices to form and pool because then that means your temperature has dropped.
Oh, yeah.
And you're steaming the meat rather than
frying
it fast. So just keep in that mind, if you're starting to see like bubbling liquids, then that's not good for a stir fry. Okay. So once again, high heat if you can. Okay. Batch cooking is not a big deal. Some people don't say that you shouldn't do that, but I think it's fine.
Well, and then you just kind of mix it all together in the wok when you're done.
Yeah.
And everything gets heated through pretty quickly. Yep. And there's your meal.
So the couple of other things is adding. So this is an error that a lot of people make, is that you add vegetables that are wet. So after you're done with your meat, you're like, okay, I'm on to my vegetables. And you guys don't scrape out that pan. Don't you dare scrape out that pan. You've made your meat. You've cooked your meat.
Cook your vegetables in the meat juice.
Oh man, not necessarily meat juice. There's probably like flecks of meat and like maybe caramelized bits.
The brown bits.
Leave those in there. You want that. You want that flavoring. Let the meat do the flavoring for you too. Don't add wet vegetables into your pan because you are going to basically steam your vegetables, but you're not trying to do that. You are trying to you're kind of doing the same thing. You're kind of searing them. You're
flash frying the vegetables.
Yeah, you're just doing it so fast. And that's why they stay crisp and green or whatever color they are, red and yellows.
It just kind of almost blanches them, but blanching involves water.
Yeah. And so you're going to be moving. And so if you have a wok, you're flipping, you're moving your spatula around. So you're moving things around. A lot of the flipping, once again, when I was a kid, I couldn't quite get the flip because I was too small to do it. But if you can flip it or kind of do the same action with your spatula, because you want the vegetables and stuff to come up off of that bottom patina, which is super hot, and come up into this kind of area above it where it can kind of take off some of that moisture, but also cook it. So you get some heat up there.
Okay.
Yes. So it's nice to get some flipping motion. That's one thing that I feel like is very helpful. So don't put in your wet vegetables. If you can't dry them off, use a vegetable like a salad spinner or something. Dry them off.
Get an extra kitchen towel.
Yeah, whatever.
It's not going to break the bank.
It's not a big deal. So, and then the other thing is, and I think maybe this is one of your issues when she says mushy vegetables, you got to be careful when you're adding in your vegetables. Okay, so let's talk about which vegetables you have to type and group your vegetables. So
yeah, you want to cook the more fibrous ones first, right?
Yep, exactly. So our carrots, our broccoli, our cauliflower, those are heartier. They're pretty firm vegetables.
And dense.
And then your medium hard kind of vegetables are going to be like your green beans, your mushrooms, bell peppers. There's usually not there. I would say very rarely do I see potatoes in a stir fry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't eat potatoes.
Yeah. It's usually just the green vegetables. Zucchini, that's
okay. Yep,
kind of considered a medium-ish. And then when we're talking super soft, we're talking about the leafy greens, bok choy, your Napa cabbage, which I absolutely love, bean sprouts, because those I think of them as wilting immediately in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do a stir fry, start out with I'm going to do a broccoli, mushroom, Napa cabbage thing. So you're going to put in your broccoli, let it sit there, heat through. Next thing you're going to go put into the mushrooms. And then next thing after that, you're going to put the Napa cabbage. And those will just heat through. You're tossing them right. And then when you're like, okay, I'm right there. And once again, you want to make sure you don't go too far because even when you turn off the heat, it's going to kind of still continue cooking.
The residual cook.
Yeah. So why don't you then just chuck in your meat, stir it up together, and then get it off the heat. Get it off the heat, get it out of the pan. It's the nice thing about the wok is that it cools down, but at the same time, it's still going to be warm-ish. So plate it. Just get it off so that it still retains its color and crispness. And just don't take so much time cooking. It really doesn't take that much time. Now,
it doesn't take that much time when you have the right equipment and the right temperature.
Yes, it's true. And if a little mise en place, right? If you get all your stuff ready, once you're in there and you're done. I mean, you're not going to stop for I got to read the recipe. Nope, there's none of that now.
Yep.
You're just going, okay. One last thing. So Katie says, I haven't bought a wok. I'm afraid to use a wok. It might not be in my budget to buy a wok. First of all, you can get woks at Asian markets for dang cheap. So just look around. You don't need anything fancy.
Okay.
Don't need anything
Good
fancy.
to know.
Yep. And then the other thing is that if you don't have a wok, a large skillet will probably work and kind of do the same deal.
You just need to make sure it's really hot.
Yeah, it's really hot. And if you have one that kind of has a sloping side, you can kind of do the same thing as pushing stuff off to the sides if you don't want to take it out and do batch cooking. But you could actually move stuff off to the side.
Okay.
So there's a lot of technique that I don't think I realized what I was doing. Or maybe I've slipped and I haven't really done as much in the end. So one thing that happens a lot, and you're going to laugh, in some Asian cooking with stir fries is that sometimes the sauce does I usually have a little bit more liquid than I'd prefer. So you can thicken it up with a little cornstarch and water. So you just make a little slurry of a couple tablespoons of water, a couple teaspoons of cornstarch. Mix that together, and then you can add that in to thicken up the sauce.
Oh, okay.
It makes it gravy-like.
Because we love gravy.
Because we love our gravies. So, yeah. So that's kind of how I would make a stir fry. And that's not to say that there are different ways of doing it. So, yeah. I'm Katie. I'm kind of curious to know how it goes for you. And
let us know.
I think
email us back.
Yeah, it would be great to hear because it is tricky and it is intimidating, but I ate them all the time and I feel like they are the number one thing for people to learn how to cook without a book, like cook without a cookbook.
Yeah.
Just do whatever tastes best to you. And once again, with the sauces, there are some fun sauces and stuff like that out there, but your basic stuff can do the trick too. Soy sauce, a little fish sauce. I'm like trying to think like rice vinegar or wine. I mean, there's like different things that we use to make it. And Lee, I will be the first to admit, makes the best mabu tofu that's a tofu dish.
Oh, I'm like mabu what?
Mabu tofu. He makes the best mabu tofu dish because he's like, this tastes good to me. And he's just like adding random stuff to it. He's
got a good palate.
He
but
does.
if you know what you like, you can figure that out.
You can do
too.
the same thing. And if you want, there's other things that you could buy. Like if you're like, I love that black bean sauce that they have in this one dish, you can buy a jar of that and just toss in some of those black beans for flavor and stuff. So anyway, I love stir fries. I think they're fun. And I need to apparently buy a wok. It's kind of sad when you have an electric range though. It's pretty pathetic.
It's hard.
So maybe
it can still be done.
It can still, it still can be done. And if you'd like to, one thing to be aware of is that it may seem unstable. So you can buy a ring as well.
Oh yeah. My mom had a ring growing up.
So you can
would balance it on there.
Yeah. You can just rest it on there and it's great. So we would have a ring and that was perfect. So I would just buy yourself a wok at the Asian market. They probably have rings there as well and get a couple of things that would work as a good moving spatula, just things that could move things around.
The flat bottomed wooden spoons are great.
Yeah, those work too. Katie, you got this, girlfriend. You can do it.
Yay. Our podcast today is brought to you by our awesome and food-loving sponsors.
Our podcast is brought to you by Once a Month Meals, everybody.
Yeah, we're affiliates with Once a Month Meals. That's onceamonthmeals.com. If you go to our affiliate link, which is in the show notes.
The cool thing, if you guys don't know what Once a Month Meals is that they basically have a meal plan in regards to freezer meals. You make all of your meals in one day or in a couple of days, right?
Yeah, you batch cook and it gives you list of efficiency, list of groceries. It takes into account your dietary needs. It's one and done and you get it done.
Yep. And then it's all stored away. And then when you get home from work or after soccer practice, whatever, you throw that thing into the crock pot, into the oven, onto the stovetop, into your instant pot, and bam, dinner is ready to go. There's like a couple of steps that you took care of at the beginning of the month and now you don't have to worry about it. So you can spend more time with your family.
Yeah.
That's really important to us. So anyway, so once again, that was secure.onceamonthmeals.com/affiliate/Hungry Squared. And Trisha Callahan, who is the founder of Once a Month Meals, has given us, our listeners, a generous discount.
If you enter Hungry15 at checkout, you get 15% off.
Woohoo!
Through February 15th.
Go take a look at that there. Once a Month Meals. Woohoo! Thanks for being an affiliate sponsor.
Let's have a food fight.
Food fight, food fight, food fight, food fight. It's winter.
This is the segment of our show where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. And you can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us anyway. If you need professional help, please seek it out.
Food fight, food fight. The food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
Winter, where's this week's question? Do you have it? I don't have it.
I totally have it. It's awesome because there's a really funny reference in it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it says, I really enjoyed this week's show, ladies. Here's a food fight request. How should one deal with a roommate's expired food? When is it deemed acceptable to throw their gross food away?
Oh my gosh.
Wait. This is how they signed off. Signed, our fridge houses the Temple of Gozer. Do you know what that is?
The Temple of Gozer.
Yeah, do you know what that is?
I do because I Googled it. Because I didn't remember it.
Yeah, so the Temple of Gozer is a reference to Ghostbusters. You know, at the very end when the bad guy, or I don't even,
There's
the
a
evil
floating spirit
has taken over that one apartment building, and
It's the Temple of
Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis have been changed into dogs.
I'll put a picture of that in the show notes.
Yeah. Okay, Sharon, we both had roommates. How have we dealt with this?
So some of my older mates probably listen to this podcast. If you are listening, hey, and I miss you. Probably. I've lived with, I think it's well over 100 now.
That is ridiculous to me. I'm sorry. That's just ridiculous.
I think it's like 135 or 40, somewhere in there. And I've really liked nearly every single one of them.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you've had good relationships with your roommates.
But man, have we had gross fridges.
It's hard when you have a lot of people in at one house sharing one fridge.
The constant, though, in this equation, for you math friends, is me.
Oh, so you're the jerk.
Sometimes. But I also clean.
Oh,
so
okay.
Sometimes I'm the one that ends up throwing it away.
Okay, that's good.
But it's not just my food, though. It's been other people's food, too. But my food has been plenty gross.
So you just throw it out.
So it's got to be visible for me.
Like mold.
Yeah.
Sludgy.
There's got to be a true science experiment going on for me to throw that out.
Okay.
Or you have to know the person really well. And if you're living with them, I assume you know them really well. And if you don't, this is a great chance to get to know your roommate. So one of my besties that I've lived with is deathly afraid of expiration dates. If it's anywhere near the expiration date,
it's
even
out.
if it's before, it's out. Me, on the other hand,
you'll push the envelope.
I push the envelope and I'm like, well, it's only 2 days past. And then I shake the milk before I smell the milk. Because it always goes better that way, and you can kind of make it stretch, because sometimes you need some Oreos.
Totally.
But this one friend, I knew that if it was the week of the expiration date, I could just throw that out. No big deal.
Okay, so you just need to know your roommate. So
I would cross her name off of it and put my name on it, and she wouldn't care because it was the week of the expiration date.
Oh, okay.
Well, so sometimes I got free food that way.
Sweet.
But you had to be on the ball.
I think I probably went into that. I think if it is growing a science experiment, I would throw it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not safe to eat. Like, don't eat that.
Don't eat that.
If it's like a vegetable or something, it's going to spoil everything else in the refrigerator.
Yeah. And you can tell when that's going bad.
Yeah, it's emitting
the gases.
And so it's going to make your other stuff spoil faster.
Yeah. So throw those out. I think that's fine. But I do think you need to know where your roommates stand.
Yeah, it's time for real talk. And that's like basic. I mean, you're doing a service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I want to clean the fridge. Let me know. And then we can just establish this pattern. Hopefully you'll be cleaning the fridge as well. But if your roommate has science experiment food in there, chances are they're not going to clean the fridge.
No.
And you just have to deal with that.
They probably have forgotten about it.
Well, yeah. And sometimes life gets really stressful.
Yeah.
Like there's weeks where some people don't eat at home because it's like so much stuff is going on. And so they bought this food that they had intended to cook and now it's gone bad.
Yeah. That's kind of the tricky thing about refrigerators. Sometimes they're so deep, you can't see what's in the back. And then if you have so many people and they've got so much stuff in there,
well, and then you've got valuable real estate. Like this is my corner of the shelf. Yeah. I hate that. Yeah. We just would fit it in where it fit in.
Yeah.
If your name's on it, sweet.
Yeah.
If it's not, then it's free game.
Yeah. So talk to your roommate. I think you need but I do think it's okay to throw stuff out if it's like funky.
Yeah. It's fine. I mean,
it's for your health. and their health and your tomatoes' health that might be sitting in the bottom of the fridge. I'm trying to think of what you might have at the bottom of your fridge.
Well, and then I
No, you
started
wouldn't
thinking
have your
about
tomato.
cheese. Like, cheese gets moldy, but blue cheese is good cheese.
Mm-hmm.
But if that blue cheese is growing on cheddar cheese, that's kind of gross.
Well, I think it just depends on what your level of comfort is. 'Cause
I think you
honest,
need to.
I have
know
cut some
your-
of that off.
I think you need to know your friend's level of comfort.
Yeah. Because if you're like, oh yeah, that's totally good, I'm going to keep eating that cheese. I'll just cut off the parts that are bad.
My grandma once cut mold off of bread and gave it to me as a sandwich.
Oh,
It tasted bad. She's like, no, I cut it off. And I'm like, no, it tastes bad.
it's like a tree, like Cristiano said. The roots are still there.
Yeah, the roots are still there. They are. And you can taste them.
And you can taste them.
When you're talking about wheat bread, it's not good.
Just throw it away.
Yeah. Yeah. So just throw it away. Have a real talk with your roommate.
Yeah, real
and
talk.
Just know where they stand on moldy food and expiration dates, especially. And yeah, then you'll be smooth sailing.
I'm sure it will be fine.
Well, thanks for joining us today for our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music.
Hey, everybody. Have you subscribed to our podcast? If you haven't, subscribe. It's super easy. So just go to iTunes, to Stitcher, Google
hit
Play
subscribe.
Music, and just hit subscribe. And then it'll just show up in your feed and you'll be like, hey, there they are on Monday.
Yep.
Awesome.
Can't wait to see you here next week.
Heck yeah. It's going to be awesome. Good food nerdery.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Hungry squared, yeah, hungry squared.